Today we'll be continuing on with the concepts of binary operation, and the first thing that we'll be doing today is we'll be looking at a different representation of binary operations. So up until now what we have done is, when we had an let's say we have an x1 and we operate x1 and x2 using the operation star, we write x1 star x2 and then we write the solution. So that is the representation that we had done up until now. What we'll be doing today is we'll be looking at an alternative representation of binary operations in the form of something which we call the composition table. So composition table essentially is just another representation of binary operations, as I've told before. Now, as I had already defined, a binary operation has to be defined on a set of elements based on which the elements of binary operations are taken up. And let's say that set of elements is S, as I had mentioned in my previous video. So let's say that that element S has n elements, x1, x2 up to xn. So let's say it has some element xi and xj in between as well. And what I say is, there's the operation that I'm taking under consideration is the operation star. So the composition table looks something like this. It has the it has the star operation mentioned here, and it has essentially n columns which represent the elements, and it has n rows. So using this, we can look into the fact that a binary operation essentially maps elements from the S cross S set to elements on the S set. So basically, for every row and column, we'll have a pair of elements, essentially x2, 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 x1. So we'll have pairs of elements which represent the elements belonging to the set S star S. And for every such pair, we'll have a particular solution, or we'll have a particular result corresponding to x2 star x1 or x1 star x1 or x1 star x2. We'll have a single value or a single magnitude, or essentially a singular solution, which essentially is an element of S. This S also, the fact that these elements are also elements of the set S operation essentially imply the fact that the binary operation is closed under S. So essentially, if my mapping starts from S cross S and the elements, the resultant elements are also a member of S, then I say that the binary operation is closed under S. So that is a definition that we use often. And as I mentioned before, there are n columns and n rows, and that is essentially how the composition table looks like. So let's say I have an xi element over here, so that's the ith row, and let's say I have an xj element. So I'm not talking about the same element here, I'm talking about two different elements. So this is the jth column, so we have the ith row and we have the jth column. Corresponding to the ith row and corresponding to the jth column, I will have an element here which will be xi star xj. So that will essentially be the resultant of operating xi and xj with respect to the operation star. So that is how my composition table looks. Another interesting fact about the composition table is, looking at the representation of the composition table, I can tell at a glance whether the operation is commutative or not. This essentially holds only for the commutative law and not as such for the associative and distributive law. We need to look further into the elements of the composition table to determine whether the operation follows associative law and distributive law or not. But just by looking at the table, we can say that yes, the operation follows commutative law, or no, the operation does not follow commutative law. So what we essentially do is, let's say we take this diagonal. Well, this won't fall under the diagonal, so let me just remove that. What we essentially do is, we take the diagonal of the combination matrix, or the composition table, essentially for the composition matrix. And what we do is, we compare the elements on both the sides of the diagonal. So of course, since it has n columns and n rows, this portion will be a square, so I can easily form a diagonal from this portion. And what I do is, this is the diagonal. So this diagonal consists of elements like x1 cross x1, x2 cross x2, x3 cross x3, and xn cross xn, so on and so forth. What I do is, I look at elements like this. So I look at this element and I look at this element. If these two numbers are the same, it means that x2 star x1 is the same as x1 star x2. Similarly, if I look at this element and if I look at this element and I see that they two are identical in nature, that is xn star x2 is the same as x2 star xn, or if I look at this element and I look at this element, so they essentially need to be the symmetrical, they essentially need to be the corresponding elements. So if I see that xn star x1 is the same as x1 star xn, what I can essentially say is they are commutative. So as you can see, x2 star x1 is the same as x1 star x2. So the order does not matter in which I take the operation, the resultant will necessarily be the same. So that is how I can look into the symmetry essentially, because if the corresponding elements are identical, this triangular portion and this triangular portion will essentially be symmetrical with respect to this diagonal, with respect to the x1 star x1, x2 star x2, x3 star x3, xi star xi, xn star xn diagonal. So along this diagonal, if I divide the composition table and I find symmetric triangles to be the components of the composition table, then I can deduce that the operation follows commutative law. So that is an interesting property of the of the composition table. The next thing we'll be looking on to is, we already know different operations. So I'm sure we all know the operation of addition, the operation of multiplication, the operation of subtraction, the operation of division. As I had mentioned before, these four are very basic operations. We also have other operations like log, exponential. We know a couple of operations. So what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at some new operations. So you might be knowing these operations if you're an interested student and you might have done some separate research, or just gone through other books, advanced books, and you might have found out these operations. But let's just look at these operations first. So the first operation that we'll be looking on to is the addition modulo n. So that is how you say it. It's addition modulo n. The symbol for this is the addition operation, the plus, the normal plus operator that we are very well aware of. And what we do is on the subscript, we put a small n. So this symbol essentially represents the operation addition modulo n. Now, how does this operation work? So we know what happens when we take under consideration the addition operation. Essentially, if it's a plus b, what we do is we simply add the two numbers. So that's the addition operation. So how does this addition modulo n operator work? I have taken an example to illustrate the operation procedure of the addition modulo n. Now, of course, since it's an operation, we need two elements, and the two elements that I've taken under consideration is 9 and 5. So what I do is I operate addition modulo n with respect to the element 9 and 5. And the solution essentially is I first add these two elements, that is 9 plus 5. Then I divided by the n that I had taken under consideration. So addition modulo n, that the operation that I've taken here is addition modulo 4, because in place of n, which is on the subscript, I have written 4. So this is addition modulo 4. So if I see addition modulo 4, what I do is the two numbers, I first add these two numbers and then I divide it by 4. Whatever is the remainder is my answer. So that is how I compute addition modulo